Leaves Are Falling Fast Productions proudly presents today's radio play, The Reckoning, or What's for Dinner? After the Last Supper, by Diane Almeter Jones, starring Verneice Turner, Christian Hines, Marie Costa, and Conor Tague. Directed by Matt Refermat, with Maureen Sheldon, our stage manager. We would like to recognize and honor the Haudenosaunee tribe, the indigenous keepers of the land and water on which the location of this play resides. Now join us as our protagonist, Diane, sits down with her ancestors at an otherworldly dinner in the Rose Garden in Delaware Park, Buffalo, New York.
Moniker? Diane Jones?
Yes, Jones. Or Almeter Jones. It's confusing. I know. It was an 80s thing.
1980s? I've anticipated your arrival. It is of great importance that you report to the table ready behind the Rose Garden, not far off Sir Shakespeare's Hill.
Shouldn't the restaurant be at Marcy Casino?
Not for the dearly departed.
Right.
Not to dilly-dally. Bad form to keep others waiting.
I was not informed I'd be dining with others.
Now, don't go cracked. I'll be with you all evening.
If everyone gets a reservation here with one last wing and a prayer, I'll never get any peace. What if I don't want to be seated with some bad elements?
Whom are you indicating, madam? Swillbellies? Nefarious no-gooders?
That's a start.
They've been banned from this particular establishment for the duration of the evening.
You seem to have some authority.
Not really, that notwithstanding. We are at your table.
Well, it's about time you showed up. We can't play three-handed without a third hand, you know.
Sorry, tough day.
Did you grab beers?
I got what was left in the icebox.
Grandma, can't you hear me, Grandma?
Over hill, over dale, thorough bush,
Here, June, let me help you.
I'll take two.
I was counting on having one.
You? A beer?
Yes, me, a beer.
Okay.
I could go for a tall, stout myself. Can I get a beer, please?
I'll be waiting for him. You tell him if you see him, I'll be waiting for him. Sitting in this rocking chair with a shotgun across my lap, waiting for him.
Nana, maybe you could use a whiskey and not a beer. Aren't you talking about Grandpa John? He's sitting right there. Thought you two would have worked things out by now.
The damn fool gambles everything away. The cattle, the land, now the homestead. Well, he wants to come traipsing back into our lives? I think not.
John, why don't you speak up for yourself? We tried hard, didn't we? You and me. It's not always our fault, right?
Going to work in the garden. Can't somebody take me to the garden? Garden is waiting. I don't have all day.
You're at the garden, sir, at the best table we can find you.
Not a mosquito, tick, poison ivy, or notorious elements to be found.
Going to work in the garden.
It's best you stay with us, John. Let me help you.
Hello, dear.
Uncle Howard, as I live and breathe, it's been a while, hasn't it? Gee, you look wonderful.
Thank you, Diane. Heard anything about Aunt Smiles?
Not for some time. I'm sure she'll be joining us, soon enough. Why, you're in your army uniform, just like Grandpa and Harry.
Seems to fit your favorite play structure, so I oblige.
Thanks. Who knew?
Anybody hear about Howard?
2 days ago, Smiles got a telegram that he's a German prisoner of war.
Must be pretty scary for Shorty.
I would think it would be tough on anyone, Harry.
Hey, that's my ace.
So it is.
What's Trump again?
Spades.
Your Highness, this is my great Uncle Howard. He was shot down over Poland near the end of World War II.
Decent to see you again, my brother of the blade.
Likewise. Haven't been to one of these afterworld feasts for some time now. Lovely to see some old familiar faces. Cora.
Howard, you must be Diane, our little playwright.
That's me.
Hello, dear.
What are you doing, June? It's time to play already. Where are you hiding the peanuts?
I have a confession to make.
Oh?
I always tried to weave truth into the stories I told, but the card playing was not a Bickle thing. I had a bit of a cheat on that one.
I see.
Pinochle.
It's hard to explain. Mel, runs, points. Anyway, June, Harry, and Francis needed to be engaged in an activity while speaking their dialogue in the attic. So, pinochle it was, even though I never, ever saw them play cards. Graham and Gramps were crossword puzzle people.
Who knows a 10-letter word for a Neil Simon play?
Menus?
Methinks, mistress, you should have little reason for that. And yet, to say the truth, reason and love keep little company together nowadays.
Nothing better than a dinner serenaded by an ass. Except jazz. Jazz might be better.
I'll tell you. My twin brother, Tom, married a much younger woman. French. 'Twas a bit of the scandal. He was a big-shot writer, a reporter and editor, a poet, too. He had some work published in the Saturday Evening Post. His wife left him, taking their daughter back to France. A nomad at heart, he lived with me until he died.
Surprised Tom isn't here, too. I definitely have a few questions for him myself.
Do we have partners?
No, it's every man for himself.
Bowers? No, that's euchre. Ace, 10, king, queen, jack, and nines. Got it.
Brayley grows up to marry a lovely gal when she dies just after giving birth to her third daughter. Consumption. I helped raise those girls like they were my own until he remarried.
What a fine job you did raising the girls, Hattie.
Remind me how much a run's worth.
Maybe we should play Go Fish.
Yeah, or I bet there's a deck of old maid cards around here somewhere.
I remember Brayley as an old man. He used to roll his own cigarettes, sitting at the table in his parlor.
Howard, I passed on over before you made it back from the war.
It was as bad as you can imagine, Cora. Harry was killed, of course, and I was captured after bailing out. Had to come down from the mountains or would have froze to death.
The only good thing about Harry's being killed in action was not having to wait to see him again.
I'm still stirred up about being away when Mother died.
I know.
We do miss her around here.
About the time the war was ending, June and Smiles got telegrams only days apart.
February 17th, 1945. Stop. The Secretary of War desires me to express his deep regret that your husband, Private First Class Harry L. Bickle, was killed in action on 28 January in Belgium. Stop. Confirming letter to follow. Stop.
Some paradise. Conversations are so disjointed here. Are we ever on the same page?
On occasion.
February 15th, 1945. Stop. Report just received through the International Red Cross states that your husband, Sergeant Howard L. Luzier, is a prisoner of war of the German government. Stop.
You were a gunner on a bomber, right?
Yep. A waist gunner on a B-24. We nicknamed her Dynamite. Home base was in Italy. Shot down over Poland in September of 44.
With 4 sons in the service, I count it a blessing that we only lost Harry.
4 sons.
Only 2 on active duty overseas. Thank my lucky stars.
I never thought about being shot down.
Never?
No. But there we were, returning from a bombing raid with the plane on fire after getting hit by heavy flak.
Terrifying.
Our pilot called us, told us to prepare to bail out. We was going down. I landed near some woods, took off towards them right away, burying my chute under a brush pile. No one else from the plane was around. Walked around for a few weeks, just me in the mountains. Stayed alive drinking water out the streams and eating blackberries.
How many, June?
8.
13.
The miles you traveled. You ended up where?
Made contact with the farm family who put me in touch with the partisan. The partisan contacted some Russians in the area. They got me to an outpost camp where I met up with other downed airmen.
Remember, the Russians were our allies at the time.
Right. 1944. Russians are allies.
However strange this appears to me, war is undeniably war.
An American intelligence group had recently landed as part of the secret United States OSS mission, led by Lieutenant James Hope Green, sent to help rescue us, as well as supplying arms and ammunition for the Slavic resistance movement. An AP newsman, Joe Morton, had talked his way onto the mission to cover the story.
OSS?
Office of Strategic Services. A forerunner to the CIA, it was.
Arrangements were made for our base to pick us up and get us back to Italy. Unfortunately, heavy rain scuttled the plans. Germans were approaching our area, and we would be captured if we didn't get out quickly. We decided to join the Americans who were with the OSS outfit, along with the townspeople and the other partisans fleeing into the mountains to escape.
Starting to sound like the end of The Sound of Music.
You're not wrong, but we were certainly not singing as we were climbing.
I should say not.
The Sound of Music?
Some things just don't translate over the centuries. It's a musical about an Austrian family who escapes Nazi capture by fleeing over the mountains. A musical, a play with singing.
A play with singing? I shall stay with the bard, thank you.
We Bickle boys can be pretty bullheaded at times.
That's true enough, Brad.
Snow was clear up above our knees. Up there in the Tetra Mountains, we spent about a week heading for Russian lines. Each day, our food supply growing lower and lower. The further we climbed, the more villagers we lost, frozen in their tracks as they stopped to rest.
Those poor people.
Getting restless, my group of downed airmen kept thinking that we were going to die like the townfolk if we kept going. So we talked about splitting off. Lieutenant Hope Green told us we would be in big trouble for going against his orders if we left them. We did it anyway, and split up knowing it'll only be a matter of time until we were captured. Better than freezing to death on the side of a mountain.
For someone who spent the first few days of his life incubating in a bread oven on top of the family stove, you were quite a fighter, Uncle Howard.
From the start, I guess I was. Lived all the way to 100. I did.
What happened, Howard?
If I were you, I'd leave the sleeping dogs to lie.
We found an abandoned building. Got us a fire started to get warm, and about an hour later, the German SS troops came calling. I wound up in a stalag in Germany. The Russians liberated us before V-Day, was shipped back to stateside, where I arrived in New York Harbor in the spring of 45. Statue of Liberty? She sure was a welcome sight.
War.
It's not just in Europe, you know.
The OSS group who retreated higher was captured at the Mountain Lodge. Both AP journalists Joe Morin and Lieutenant Hope Green were executed by Germans after being sent to concentration camps. Bodies cremated.
My.
How about some ice cream? Got your spoon?
Right here in my army boots, always at the ready.
Huzzah!
Whatever you do, don't order the stalag with brown bread. Sawdust instead of flour.
Lots of stars out tonight, Hattie.
Sure are, John.
Would you like some water, Diane?
I'd prefer a whiskey.
Now you're talking.
Irish, if you have it.
You most certain are, kin of mine.
Last night, I attempted suicide
in my dream.
In my dream. No. Wait. Why the silence? Does it matter how someone dies? When we move on, we move on. It was a dream, regardless. Can't it be different on this side?
It shall be.
Not a problem here.
Can't throw stones myself.
We should not be acquainted with reasons why.
Who wants a beer? Diane?
Sure, Grandma. Can you deal me in?
No.
Game started.
No. It's okay. I know this bit, and I don't seem to have a bottle of Chianti on me to join in. I'll just visit at this end of the table for a while. Anxiety. Does it ever end?
I presume that to be true.
You just got here.
Precisely.
No mosquitoes.
No TB. No smallpox.
Right.
Don't worry, dear. It's going to be all right.
Let's see that kitty. Wait a minute, didn't you just deal?
Let's never mind that.
Wouldn't have done me any good anyways.
Meld?
8.
12.
And I've got 18.
You named your first son, John.
Yes.
After my husband?
Yes.
Another one named John.
Another boy named John.
Johannes.
Johannes. John. Jonathan. Check, check, check.
Food here is not as good as my Hattie's. She is a fine cook.
Johannes,
Yes?
wondering why you were assigned to my welcoming dinner.
This affair, it seems obvious to me. Yet, I challenge you to guess.
A hint, please?
I was engaged in printing centuries before your birth. You could say we were both in the design business.
You printed money for the Second Continental Congress. My subscription to Ancestry.com has finally paid off.
Indeed, I was a printer of paper currency. Ancestry.com?
You're a Rothrock, ain't you? Our Harry married a Kitty Rothrock, and she told us stories about an ancestor in the Revolution.
Ye are correct.
We must gather all the Rothrocks together for a big afterworld shindig.
Harry, can you clean off your hands, please? You're getting the cards sticky.
I printed, then signed a sizable batch of currency on the 20th of May in 1777 at our shop in Philadelphia, the well-appointed Hall and Sellers print shop.
That's some mighty important work there, Johannes.
Thank you, Mistress Cora. I proclaim I was a lieutenant in the 5th Company of York County, Pennsylvania.
That makes you my grandfather, too many times removed to remember.
Truly.
It's always something, isn't it? Just when you think you've got your whole life ahead of you, everything changes in a minute.
Ain't that the truth?
The day you come inside from playing and Mama starts coughing up blood. Before you know it, she's gone.
Cora?
Yes.
I never could find a photo of your mother, and I had so many to comb through.
That doesn't surprise me none. Papa didn't keep pictures of Mama around after she was put away. I was barely 13 years old when she was admitted to Warren State Hospital for the Insane. 17 years later, Mama died there. My 4 young'uns barely knew her, of course.
I remember your daughter, Lillian, fondly. Spent a fair amount of time with her, actually. The irony.
Lillian was always a good girl. We'd go on the train to see her grandmother Clara in the hospital with me. It was a good thing she was young enough to not remember too much.
I was in a psych ward myself. 6 days. Cannot imagine being there until I died.
That was just the way of it. Especially if you had fits like Mama did.
Family things are complex, aren't they?
That's true enough.
Your last 2 children, Francis and Harry.
Who would have ever imagined that your grandmother would end up marrying 2 of my sons? Not at the same time, mind you. It was pretty common to marry a brother-in-law after the war.
Who's got the deal?
I think it's me.
It's June. Ladies start.
In 1905, after we'd been back a handful of years to the boarding house, I took the children to see Miller's 101 Wild West Circus on East Ferry right here in Buffalo. A man at the front gate spied Brayley. Ain't you the kid who was always scattering the cattle on our ranch in the Oklahoma Territory? You used to ride a sorrel horse, didn't you? Brayley seemed a bit nervous getting found out. Well, you could scatter the cattle from hell to breakfast. If I'd have caught you, I'd have killed you dead and never thought a thing about it. He laughed, taking our tickets. Welcome to the Wild West show, kid.
Not really sure what you are talking about.
Anyone for a nipperkin?
No, I think I've had plenty.
Do you need me to spell it out for you?
Would you rather tea, madam?
Attention! May I have your attention, please? Thanks. Well, I just wanted to say that I've spent a great deal of my time on Earth, wondering and worrying what the next journey would be like, and though it's still a bit odd, my heart is full, as is my stomach. The time is obviously not the same over here, and there is great comfort in that, as I'm still longing for folks on the other side. Anyway, thank you, ancestors. I wrote about you to learn more about myself. I appreciate you not greeting me with disgust and swords. Cheers.
Slancheva! To your health.
Cheers, Nana.
Perpetual union to the colonies.
Here. If we shadows have offended, think but this and all is mended. So good night unto you all. Give me your hands if we be friends, as life has restored amends.
Chapter 2. Neil Simon's play. Chapter 2. There's the answer to your crossword, June.
Harry, are you hurt?
Not anymore, June. I feel him out.
Dried up the bottle when I ended up in a poor farm outside Tacoma because of the depression.
Your hallucination, dear.
See, you.
I don't rightly recall.
We're Chip and Mary now.
Things are hazy.
Salud.
Thank you for joining us for our radio play, The Reckoning, or What's for Dinner After the Last Supper. Directed by Matt Refermat, starring Verneice Turner as Diane, Christian Hines as Howard, Marie Costa as Cora, and Conor Tague as Johannes. This production has been written by Diane Almeter Jones and has been brought to you by Leaves Are Falling Fast Productions. We hope you've enjoyed our Afterworld family dinner as much as we've enjoyed having you. Who wants dessert? Maureen Sheldon, our beloved stage manager. Could you put our orders in, please?